Hello, very good evening to you. This is BBC London News. I'm Danny Sinha. There's to be a clampdown on chauffeurs who illegally park outside Arsenal's Emirates Stadium. It follows numerous complaints from residents who say the cars clog up their streets. Islington Council say they'll take tough action, but as Warren Nettleford now reports, locals are not convinced it'll be enough.
Match day at the Emirates. Most fans still happy to make their way to watch Arsenal by foot. But for some, there's only one way to travel: by private chauffeur. Residents here in N5, though, have had enough.
I'm walking today because I daren't move my car. Because when you move it, you come back, there's no parking. And that's the problem. Limo drivers, they sit in their cars 2 hours waiting for whoever. And I think that if people can afford to drive limos, they should pay to park.
Traffic wardens are already issuing tickets. But drivers say they have no choice.
Sometimes it gets very chock-a-block here and you can't come in and out all the time, so it's easier to come early and just sit until they come back.
Following many complaints, Islington Council are now threatening to fine drivers individually for parking near the stadium during games.
They're taking people's parking spaces. They keep the engines running for up to 3 hours, which is obviously a great nuisance to people living because they get the noise, and there's also the pollution.
Now, underneath the stadium there are spaces for 150 corporate fans on match day, but using the car park would mean they'd have to wait for around an hour after the game until the roads are clear. Arsenal Football Club say they'll support any scheme that improves the conditions for residents, and neighbours here are hoping that comes sooner rather than later. Warren Nettleford, BBC London News.
Police say a man who died after being punched in the street was acting as a peacemaker. 23-year-old David Joslin was attacked more than a week ago in Chingford when a row erupted between two groups of people. He was punched to the ground and later died in hospital. No arrests have yet been made. Around 200 people in North London face another night without gas more than a week after their supply was cut off by a burst water main. Many of those affected in East Barnet have had to rely on electric heaters over the Christmas period. Engineers have been drafted in from as far afield as Cornwall. Taxpayers have paid over £100 million to give London's police officers free rail travel for the next 5 years. Officers only have to show their warrant card to obtain free journeys around the capital, even when they're off duty. 6 Met officers were caught earlier this year abusing the concession by travelling first class. London's West End has had a massive post-Christmas spending boom. It's estimated more than £1 million has been spent alone today. Boxing Day takings at the big department stores are up 10% compared to last year, with over £1 million spent in the first hour. The boost in spending has been put down to better weather and early sales.
This is now the second day. Looking around the store today, we have an equally large number of people shopping with us.
What are people buying?
Well, it's spread across all of our departments, over 20 departments here. In every department, there are significant bargains to be had.
Charity shops in the capital, hit hard by the recession, are asking people to donate their unwanted Christmas presents. They say many items, which are often thrown away or forgotten about, could be put to good use. Sonny Jessup has more.
Who have we here?
We all know Santa made a list and checked it twice, and many children got exactly what they wanted in their stockings. But some of us just weren't so lucky.
Soap dishes that you don't want, and you put them in the bottom of the wardrobe.
Maybe something like a book that I've been given I've already read.
I get products and lotions and things like that, then I try and use all those up in different ways.
This year, especially with many having struggled to afford presents in the first place, many charities are appealing for us to think before we throw anything away. Donations to the Peace Hospice shop in Watford have fallen during the recession. They need £3 million a year to run the service.
At this time of year, it's particularly important for us that people think about donating to charity shops and think about donating to us, because their unwanted Christmas presents would really benefit us and benefit our patients and their families as well.
Meanwhile, in Notting Hill, visitors to this pub are being asked to re-gift unwanted children's toys. They'll be sent to orphans in Thailand who lost their parents to the tsunami 5 years ago.
Maybe you've grown out of something, or you're no longer into Barbie dolls and Cindy, and there are children who'd really like to get those kind of presents.
And for those watching their post-Christmas budget, the advice is to sell or swap unwanted gifts online.
You put up the list of the books that you'd like to swap, and people may be looking for one of those books, and then they'll offer you their list. Then you just swap it between the two of you. But the great thing is, once you've read that book, you can go and swap it again.
All welcome news then for those who didn't want another pair of novelty socks. After all, it is the thought that counts. Sonia Jessup, BBC London News.
Straight onto football then, and as you may have heard, Chelsea have extended their lead in the Premiership to 5 points. They beat Fulham 2-1 at Stamford Bridge. And in the other London derby, Tottenham beat West Ham by 2-0 at White Hart Lane. That moves Spurs within 1 point of Arsenal. A mixed day for the region's clubs. In the Championship, Watford stay firmly mid-table with their 2-all-away draw at Bristol City. QPR's push for the playoffs took a slight blow today after losing 3-0 away to Ipswich, meaning they stay 10th. Reading also lost 4-1 to Plymouth, and Crystal Palace could only manage a draw away to Swansea, 0-0 the final score there. To League One then, Brentford drew 1-1 with high flyers Charlton. That's 4 games now unbeaten for Brentford. Charlton stay second and are now 8 points from the top spot. Leyton Orient lost 2-1 to Southend, and Millwall also lost 2-0 to Bristol Rovers. Just 2 games in League Two for the region. Barnet drew 0-0 at home to Northampton, and Dagenham and Redbridge lost 2-0 at home to Cheltenham. Now look at the weather with Wendy Hurrell, and certainly a sunny day today.
It started well, didn't it? Yeah, good start to the week, but I'm afraid it's going rapidly downhill from here on in, turning cold and wet as we go through, and that starts as we go through tonight. In fact, it's beginning dry and with some clear spells, perhaps 1 or 2 mist and fog patches, a touch of frost in the countryside as well. The temperatures dip just below freezing in a few spots, but staying at around 2 degrees in central London, and then the rain starts to move in, and that's going to be particularly persistent and heavy as we go through the day tomorrow. Couple that with a fairly keen easterly wind. It's not going to be feeling all that warm, and in some places we're talking over the